Welcome, dear listeners, to a tale of resilience and wisdom from the heart of the Serengeti. Join us as we follow Juma, a young Maasai warrior, on his transformative journey into the ancient lands of his ancestors. Amidst a backdrop of drought and ecological turmoil, Juma seeks to unearth the old secrets that might save his community and restore the delicate balance of nature. Prepare to be immersed in a story that weaves together the threads of tradition and the pressing needs of the modern world. Let the spirit of the Savanna captivate your heart and inspire your mind. In the heart of the Serengeti, under the vast, open skies, the village of the Maasai stood as a testament to a life intertwined with the earth and its cycles. But this season, the rhythms of nature had faltered, the rains had not come. The grasslands were withering, the earth cracking under the relentless sun, and the wildlife, once abundant, was dwindling rapidly. It was under these ominous signs that Juma found himself at the center of his community's hopes. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, the village elders gathered around the ancient baobab tree, which had witnessed the ebbs and flows of countless seasons. Juma, a young Maasai warrior, stood slightly apart, his gaze fixed on the distant plains. He was tall and lean, his posture bearing the unmistakable mark of his heritage, draped in the traditional shuka that fluttered gently in the evening breeze. The eldest of the elders, Msikanuthia, called the meeting to order with a solemn tone. "The land suffers, and so do we," he began, his voice as parched as the earth. "Our herds are thinning, and the wild beasts that bless these lands with their presence are perishing. We must seek guidance, for if the ancestors are displeased, we must make amends." Whispers of agreement rustled through the gathered crowd like a breeze through the dry grass. Juma felt every eye on him as Msikanuthia continued, "We have chosen Juma, son of our brother Mwangi, to seek out the wisdom that might save us. He is young, but his spirit is wise beyond his years." The weight of their expectations settled on Juma's shoulders like the heavy shuka he wore. He stepped forward, accepting the mantle with a mixture of pride and apprehension. "I will journey into the heart of our land," he declared, his voice steady, though his heart raced within his chest. "I will listen to the whispers of the earth and the cries of the wind. Whatever the ancestors reveal, I will bring back to you." His mother, Nia, came forward, her face lined with both pride and worry. She placed a beaded necklace around his neck, each bead a prayer for protection and wisdom. "Remember the stories your grandmother told you," she whispered, her words catching on a breath of wind. "They are more than tales, they are the voices of our past." With the first stars beginning to prick the darkening sky, Juma looked out over the land that stretched endlessly before him. Tomorrow, he would walk into the unknown, guided only by the ancient tales woven by his grandmother, stories of the spirits of the Savanna, the guardians of their people. As the assembly dispersed, the air was thick with the scent of acacia and the distant call of a nightjar. Juma felt the isolation of his task, yet he was not alone. The spirits of his ancestors seemed to gather around him, as tangible as the cool night air. With a final look at the baobab tree, its branches etched like dark veins against the twilight sky, Juma turned towards his boma. Tomorrow's journey would need him rested and ready. For now, the village slept under a blanket of stars, the troubles of the day set aside for the promise of the dawn. And in this promise, Juma found a flicker of hope, a whisper in the vast silence that he was on the path of destiny, chosen by the spirits themselves to restore the balance of his world. As dawn cracked the dark shell of night, the Serengeti began to stir with life. Juma, carrying only a spear and a small pouch of provisions, set out from his village into the expansive grasslands that rolled under the rising sun like waves of gold. The air was crisp, filled with the earthy scent of dew-soaked soil and the faint rustle of distant herds moving through the savanna. With each step, Juma delved deeper into the heart of the Serengeti, leaving the familiar behind. The vastness of the land was overwhelming, yet within it, Juma felt a profound connection to the pulse of life that ebbed and flowed around him. Majestic acacia trees dotted the landscape, their twisted silhouettes standing as silent witnesses to his journey. As he moved through the tall grasses, Juma observed the subtle signs of distress. A lioness passed by at a distance, her ribs stark against her thin flanks, her cubs trailing behind with hesitant, unsteady steps. Vultures circled overhead, casting shadows over the parched ground where a wildebeest lay, its journey ended too soon. The balance of life was tipping, and the harmony that once governed these lands was faltering. The young Maasai's thoughts drifted to his grandmother's stories, tales of a time when the land was lush and the animals thrived. "The earth speaks to those who listen," she would say, her voice as rhythmic as the beat of a drum. Remembering her words, Juma knelt by a small stream, its flow a mere whisper compared to the roaring waters of his childhood memories. He touched the water, feeling its coolness, and watched as a small fish struggled against the weak current. Juma's journey was not just a passage through space, but through memory and history. He recalled the legends of the Kasiwa spirits, the guardians of the savanna, who were said to roam the plains, shepherding the animals and nurturing the lands. As the sun climbed higher, its heat pressing down upon him, Juma felt a stirring within, a call to reconnect with these ancient protectors. By midday, he reached a copse of baobabs, where he paused for rest. The tree's massive trunks and sprawling branches offered a sanctuary of shade. Here, amidst the quiet, Juma closed his eyes and listened. The wind whispered through the leaves, carrying with it a melody of the wild, a song of endurance and survival. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air, a warning call from a nearby antelope. Juma's eyes snapped open, his senses heightened. Scanning the horizon, he spotted a cheetah in mid-hunt, its body a blur of speed and grace. The sight was a stark reminder of the relentless cycle of predator and prey, a cycle disrupted by the encroaching desolation. As he continued his trek, Juma grew more attuned to the environment. He noticed the way the animals communicated through subtle signals, how they adapted to the scarcity. Each observation, each encounter, deepened his understanding of the intricate web of life that sustained the Serengeti. With the setting sun casting long shadows over the savanna, Juma found a solitary spot under an ancient acacia. As night fell, the stars blinked into existence above him, each one a story, a history, a spirit watching over him. Here, in the cradle of the wild, Juma felt closer than ever to uncovering the secrets that would save his land and his people. As he drifted into sleep, the whispers of the savanna lulled him, promising revelations with the dawn's new light. The coolness of the night wrapped around Juma as he lay beneath the expansive sky, its stars glittering like scattered grains of salt on a dark cloth. Sleep eluded him as the weight of his journey pressed upon his mind. Each sound of the night, a distant lion's roar, the rustle of nocturnal creatures through the brush, was a reminder of the vibrant life that throbbed in the heart of the Serengeti, a life now threatened by unseen forces. It was deep into the night when Juma was roused by a sudden, gentle wind. It was unlike any normal breeze. It carried warmth and whispered in a language only the soul could understand. Sitting up, Juma scanned the darkness, his eyes slowly adjusting. The silhouette of the acacia under which he slept seemed to bend towards him, as if beckoning. Driven by a force he could not explain, Juma rose and walked to the tree. His hand brushed against the bark, rough and ancient, and he felt a surge of connection, like a current passing from the earth through his body. The air around him thickened, and the savanna fell silent. Then, the voices began. They were soft at first, like the sigh of the wind, but grew clearer. Voices of the past, of warriors and hunters, mothers and elders, all who had once walked these lands. They spoke of times when the rains came like clockwork and the herds were plentiful. "Listen, Juma, listen to the land," they intoned, their voices overlapping, rising with the wind. The voices led him to a clearing where the moonlight painted everything in silver tones. There, the spirits of the savanna materialized, their forms translucent and shimmering. They were the Kisiwa, guardians of the plains, each embodying the essence of the Serengeti's life. One, a majestic lion with eyes like amber fire, spoke, "The balance has been broken, the harmony disrupted. You must see, not just look." Another spirit, a graceful gazelle, its form ethereal, added, "The signs are there, in the behavior of the herds, in the flight of the birds, in the blooming of the flowers. Observe and connect." As Juma listened, his heart swelled with both awe and sorrow. The wisdom of centuries was being imparted to him, not through tales passed down but directly from the source. The lion continued, "Your people have strayed from the paths of old. They have forgotten that to take from the land demands giving back." The gazelle nodded, and its voice was like the rustle of dry grass. "Return to your village and teach them to read the signs. Show them how to live as part of the land, not apart from it." As the spirit spoke, visions of the past and possible futures flashed before Juma's eyes, rivers running dry, then flowing freely, herds dwindling, then thriving under the watchful eyes of humans who acted as stewards, not just inhabitants. The first light of dawn began to edge the horizon, and the spirit's form started to fade. "Remember, Juma," they echoed as they dissolved into the morning mist, "balance in all things." Heart-pounding, spirit-filled with a newfound resolve, Juma remained in the clearing until the sun had fully risen, casting golden light across the land that was both his heritage and his responsibility. With the guidance of the Kisiwa imprinted on his soul, he knew what he needed to do. It was time to return, to bring back the ancient wisdom that could save the Serengeti and its people. With the morning sun warming his back, Juma left the clearing feeling as though he had been reborn. The encounter with the spirits of the savanna had imprinted a deep wisdom in his heart, a wisdom that guided each step he took through the tall grasses of the Serengeti. The land around him seemed different now, not because it had changed, but because he saw it through new eyes, eyes that recognized the signs and signals of nature's delicate balance. As he journeyed back towards his village, Juma observed the environment with a heightened awareness. The way the zebras moved in tight clusters, the alertness of the impalas grazing under the watchful eyes of lookouts, even the patterns of the clouds drifting overhead, all these elements spoke to him now. He understood that each was a vital part of the web that sustained the savanna. At the edge of a small watering hole, Juma paused to watch a herd of elephants. He noticed how they used their trunks to gently spray each other, a necessary respite from the scorching sun. This communal behavior was a reminder of his own community's needs for cooperation and mutual support, especially in these times of hardship. As he moved closer, he spotted a group of elder elephants digging in the mud with their tusks. To his amazement, he realized they were deepening the waterhole, making it more accessible to other, smaller animals. This action was a profound lesson in stewardship, an example of how every creature could contribute to the well-being of the whole ecosystem. Inspired, Juma took a different route back, one that led him through a dense thicket where he stumbled upon a scene of quiet tragedy. A young antelope lay entangled in a thorn bush, its life slowly ebbing away. Recalling the teachings of the spirits, Juma approached carefully, whispering soothing words as he freed the frightened animal. The gratitude in the antelope's eyes as it bounded away filled him with a sense of purpose. That night, Juma made camp under the stars once more. The savanna around him buzzed with the sounds of nocturnal life, a symphony that reassured him of the resilience of nature. He thought about the elders and the children in his village, how they depended on the wisdom of those who came before to face the challenges of the present. The next morning, Juma found an ancient baobab tree, its trunk wide and welcoming. Sitting under its shade, he used a piece of charcoal from his fire to sketch the interconnected systems he had observed. He drew the watering hole with the elephants, the antelope in the thicket, and the acacia trees dotting the horizon. Each element was connected by lines, a visual representation of the balance he needed to restore in his community. When Juma finally saw the smoke rising from his village in the distance, his steps quickened. He was eager to share his newfound understanding, to teach his people how to read the signs as he had learned. He knew it would not be easy to change old habits, but armed with the wisdom of the Kasiwa and the urgent need to act, he felt ready to confront the challenges ahead. His return to the village was marked not just by his physical presence, but by the transformative knowledge he carried with him. As the sun set over the village, casting long shadows on the dusty ground, Juma was ready to weave the old ways into the new, to guide his people in living harmoniously with the land that had nourished them for generations. As Juma approached the outskirts of his village, the familiar sights and sounds of home filled him with a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. Children played in the dust, their laughter piercing the air like music. Women gathered around the well, their water cans clinking softly. The men herded the cattle, their voices carrying over the fields. Juma's heart swelled with love for his people and a fervent hope that they would embrace the wisdom he brought back. Upon his arrival, the entire village gathered. The elders, with Nsi at their forefront, welcomed him with a solemn nod. The community's anxious faces mirrored the drought-scarred landscape that surrounded them, their eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and desperation. Juma stood before them, the setting sun casting long shadows across the dusty ground, and began to speak. His voice was strong and clear, resonating with the authority of one who had walked with spirits. "My people," he began, "the land speaks to us, but we have forgotten how to listen. Our ancestors knew how to read the signs of the soil, the water, the animals. We must relearn these skills, not just to survive this drought but to thrive beyond it." He shared the visions bestowed upon him by the spirits of the savanna, describing how the elephants managed the water holes and how the antelope's plight had shown him the importance of compassion and intervention. "We must be stewards of our land," he implored, caring for it as it cares for us. The villagers listened, captivated by his words and the sincerity with which he delivered them. Juma's journey had changed him. He spoke not just as a young warrior, but as a visionary leader, weaving the wisdom of the old with the realities of the new. Following his speech, Juma led the elders to the edge of the village, where he had begun implementing small changes based on the natural signs he had learned to interpret. He showed them the sketches he had made under the baobab tree, explaining each connection and its importance to their survival. Inspired by his experiences and insights, the village agreed to adopt new practices. They decided to rotate grazing areas for the livestock to prevent overuse, to dig deeper waterholes in the manner of the elephants, and to plant more trees to help retain the soil's moisture. As days turned into weeks, the village slowly transformed. The children learned to recognize the calls of birds as indicators of weather changes. The women used water more sustainably, and the men tended the cattle with a new respect for the land. Together, they repaired the old water conservation terraces, an ancient technique long neglected. A season later, when the rains finally came, they did so to a land better prepared to receive them. The waterholes filled, the grass grew lush and green, and the herds thrived. The village celebrated with a festival of thanks, honoring both the spirits and Juma's leadership. Stories of their ancestral wisdom, combined with the lessons of the present, were shared around the fires, a testament to their renewed bond with the land. As the moon rose high over the Serengeti, casting its silvery glow over the rejuvenated earth, Juma stood apart, looking out over the thriving plains. A sense of peace filled him, a deep, abiding connection to the land and his people. He knew the journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, there was hope, a promise of balance restored and a future secured. Thank you for journeying with us and Juma across the sweeping grasslands of the Serengeti. As we leave behind the tales of ancient wisdom and renewed hope, may the lessons of balance and stewardship linger in your thoughts. Let the spirit of the Maasai and the voices of the Savannah inspire you to connect deeply with the world around you and to cherish the bonds between humanity and nature. Until we meet again in another story, carry the echoes of the Serengeti with you, and may peace and wisdom guide your path. Farewell, dear listeners.